Hello, I'm Janna, and welcome back to the Crafty Corner. Today we're diving into round 2 of Mystery Art Supply Selection. So today we're going to be playing a game of this or that and using a die to determine our craft supplies for today's project. If you'd like to see a sneak peek of the materials, go ahead and pause here. All right, let's head over to the Crafty Corner. Today, we're going to be doing another round of mystery craft supply creating. So we're going to be playing this or that. And the way this is going to work, we're going to be rolling a die. If we roll an odd, we circle the one in the left-hand column. If we roll an even, we circle the one in the right-hand column. Let's go ahead and see what we're doing first. All the colors or monotone. And we got all the colors with a 5, so that's odd. Next, we're rolling for Distress Sprays or Distress Ink. And it is going to be Distress Inks. Okay. Next, we've got Oxide Inks or Oxide Spray. We get Oxide Inks. Next, Stamps versus Dies. And it's going to be Stamps. Great. Next, are we going to have stencils or ephemera? And it's going to be stencils. Okay. Ooh, this one, I had to challenge myself here. It's washi tape or droplets. Typically, I like the two together. So, what do we get? Okay, we get washi tape. Interesting. Next, we've got custom background or pattern paper, and we're going to be using some patterned paper. Interesting. Then, what is our base substrate going to be? It's going to be mixed media or watercolor. And we're going to be using some mixed media. Next, it is spritz versus mica sprays. And we're going to be using some mica sprays. Okay, now I'm just going to assemble our materials and see what we can come up with. So here are the assembled ingredients so far, but I'm realizing I need one more thing. I either need an archival ink or I need something to emboss with. So let's go ahead and roll. Okay, and we got a 2. So we can add embossing to our stash. Let's add a gold and a black. And of course that means we're going to need the embossing dabber. So these are ingredients. I selected the stamp sets Deconstructed CMS 489, Sign Painter CMS 484, and Embroidery CMS 486. Then over here for our oxide, I decided to go with an ice spruce. Distress ink, I've got Villainous Potion. A mica spray stain, I decided to use Shining Bauble. Here's our patterned paper, and there's our mixed media. So that covers everything on the list except for some washi. Let's see. This would probably be a good washi to use. It's one of my favorite. It's the one with the dots. Okay, and we will need to pick a stencil. So I've got a Harlequin stencil off to the side, and this is THS 016. So there's our stencil edition. So all colors, yep, picked from all the colors. I've got a distress ink, we've got a distress oxide ink, we've got our stamps, we've got a stencil, we've got some washi tape, pattern paper, mixed media paper, a mica spray, and our embossing. All right, that completes the list. Let's go ahead and clear the deck and start making. To start our round of this or that crafting, we're going to be beginning with our background. So I'm just sliding the media mat into view so I can squish down some inks. I decided that we're going to be starting off with some Villainous Potion, a dash of ice spruce, and then a little bit of Distress Mica Spray Stain Shiny Bauble. So I'm going to give that a really good shake. Okay, That looks good. And I'll give that a couple of sprays. Excellent. Now I'm going to take the Distress Sprayer and give this a good spray. I want to see those water droplets. There we go. And now we'll start with our background. We're going to take our mixed media paper and we're just going to do a dip and see what we get. And we're going to be doing multiple layers of dipping, so this is just going to be layer 1. There. Not much going on yet, but if we let this move a little bit, we'll get a bit of movement. Also, if we add water, then we'll get even more movement. So, just trying to get some movement here. All right, that's a great start. Now we're going to go ahead and put things on fast forward as we complete the rest of the background. We're going to be doing the classic Tim Holtz dip and dry technique to get us a nice and inky background. Next, we're going to be bringing in the stencil. So we've got the Harlequin stencil, and this is THS016. And I just want to add a little bit of warm shimmer to this. And to do that, we're going to be pulling in some flickering candle. So I'm just going to do a very light spritz along here. Perfect. And just lift that. Ooh, that came out really well. And we'll move that over here. I'm just going to try to block off that side and again do a little spray. Perfect. All right, well, let's see how that is. Okay, I like it. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. We've now got a little bit of shimmer on here with the Distress Mica spray. Okay. Next, we're going to start working on the next layer of our card. But first, let's go ahead and give our desk a quick cleanup. There we go. And my hand too. All right. Let's try to get all of that off. Good. And while we're at it, let's give the stencil a quick clean too. Good. So now we're ready for the next step. The next thing that we're going to be doing is to pull in the mini trimmer so I can cut a section of this. This is from one of the many Tim Holtz background packs, and I believe this is from the holiday set. Okay, so let's take that. Yeah, I think 3 inches would be just right. The normal would be 4 1/4. So we'll cut it through. And then, let's see. Normal would be 5 1/2. So I want to do 4 1/4. Is that right? 5 1/2, 1, 2, 3, nope, 4 3/4. All right, so I'm just going to lay this down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 3/4. So I'll just mark that, and we'll chop that. Good. I'm just going to hover this over here. Yeah, that'll work out. Okay. So next I want to do some stamping. And I'm going to be pulling in the stamp set. embroidery. And this is CMS 486. Now the question is, which one of these flowers do I want? It's going to be this one or that one. Yep, that one. I like that one a lot. So we'll take that. We'll get a stamping block. And now we're going to introduce the embossing ink. And we'll be glazing, well, not glazing, but embossing with the, oh, what do I want to do? Do I want to do the gold or the black? I think I want to do the gold because I kind of want to do the back in the background. Okay, so let's take that. I'm just going to tap this. Once we start seeing a nice shine on our stamp, then we know that we've got embossing ink down. I don't want to go too heavy because then the pattern will distort, but we're just lightly tapping. I'm sure I've got the embossing ink pad somewhere, but it appears to be buried at the moment, so we're using the dabber instead. Okay, so we'll lift this, give it a tilt. We've got shine, so that means we've got ink. And let's do that. Okay, good firm pressure. And I want to emboss in gold. So, bringing in a piece of scrap paper, dump that gold right on here. Okay, we've got our floral on here. Just set that down for a moment, and we'll dump the extra powder right back in the jar. Okay, we'll be back in just a moment after we have embossed this. Here's the finished embossing, and I love the elegance that the gold give this. Now, I just realized I want something to color this in, so let's have one more roll for this or that, and we are rolling for crayons or distress pencils. So if we get even, we get the pencils. If we get odd, it's the crayons. So let's see what we get. And it's odd, so we get to color with the crayons today. So let's see here. I think I want a purple, a yellow, and a green. So let's go with that. And I think mauve lawn would look good. And of course, a bit of mustard seed. So we'll just take that. I'm going to scribble the crayons off to the side, and we'll do some quick coloring. And that last color is Wilted Violet. So I'll start off with the lightest color first, which is the mustard seed, and we'll color that in right here. Ooh, I like how I can still see the pattern paper behind this. That's great. All right, so that's it for mustard seed. Now let's go in for that mowed lawn. Not sure yet if I want two colors of green, but I really do like the mowed lawn. That is going to look good. So just quickly paint that in. Let's go ahead and put the rest of this on fast forward as we finish up our coloring. Here is the completed coloring. I love how the crayon allowed us to keep that pattern behind the pigment. That is neat. So I'm just going to set this aside for right now, and next we're going to work on the sentiment. For the sentiment, we're going to be pulling in the stamp set sign painter, and this is CMS 484, and we're going to be stamping out the word hello. Now I've got a fun scrap that I want to cut up. So I'm just going to take this and let's see if that's going to be big enough for the letters. Let me find the H. Yeah, that looks just about right. I'll give myself just a little bit more space. That should be good. I'm going to cut two sides so that I've got options in case one side is a little bit short. There we go. Oh, they both came out exactly the same. Interesting. Alright, so we're going to stamp hello using the embossing dabber and the letters, and then we'll emboss in black. I think I want to use this side. Kind of looks like an archway. Okay. So I'm just going to put down the letters, space them first, and then we'll go from there. And I'll have to leave room for that double L. Oh, that's interesting. That's going to be a little tight, but we'll make it work. All right, just going to take that, line it up. Interesting. So I'm just going to do a quick check, making sure that this is going to work. It should. I might lose a little bit of that H, but we can work with that. So I'm just going to tap on the embossing ink, and then I'll go back in with a second L. Okay. So let's take that. I think I do need to stamp like this, just to make sure that things are going to be in place. Okay. So just applying some good firm pressure, hoping everything transfers nicely. Okay. Yep, that looks good. Now I'm just going to go back in with that L. If I overlap just a little bit, it shouldn't matter too much. Okay. Right there looks good. Okay, let's go in with our scrap paper and our embossing powder. There we go. That worked out. I even had a little room to spare. That's okay. So let's put that right back in the jar. And we'll stick the letters back on the stamp sheet. Okay. And the L. Great. So let's quickly emboss that. And that's going to get awfully close to my fingers. So I'm going to be pulling in the Sizzix squeezers, just to make sure that my fingers don't get too crispy. All right, we'll be back in just a moment once this has been embossed. All right, let's just see how that came out. Yeah, that works. I'll go right across here. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside for the moment, and we're going to finish up our background. I want to do a little bit more embossing over here, and I wanted to pull in some of these pieces. Now, I really like that. That one is fun. So I'm going to pull that. This is Deconstructed CMS 489. I'm just going to use that for a little bit of visual interest here. So we're just going to tap down. let's stamp it. So I want to do one here, and I want to do one on the other side. Great. Okay. We need the scrap piece of paper and the embossing powder. Good. Okay. Good. I like that this came out a bit uneven. I didn't want that to be completely perfect. That will work out very well. Okay, and get rid of that extra embossing powder. Go. And let's go ahead and heat it. There, now we've got our embossing completed. So the next thing that I want to do is go around the edges with some washi tape. And as always, we're going to add a little bit of extra adhesive with the ATG gun. So I'm just going to work our way all the way around, and then we can assemble the rest of the pieces. There we go. This is the first side. Yeah, I love the black over the really colorful background. That is fun. There we go. So the background that we started with was some distress mixed media paper, and I love that for wet techniques. Holds up very well and allows me to put all sorts of really cool things down. And here we've got a combination of distress ink, distress oxide, we've got some mica spray, and some embossing. So we've got a little bit of everything today. Okay, tucking that. Tuck that on this side, and just make sure that we're hiding any of that excess tape on the edge. And let's run down this side. Ooh. There we go. Okay, good. Now let's run that down here. Excellent. Now this is really odd not using any droplets. Typically I would add like some golden droplets in the corner of this, but since we're playing this or that, it was going to be the washi tape or the droplets. So this is a little bit unusual for me. But I do love thinking outside the box, and playing around with this or that is a great way to inspire a bit of creativity by taking some of the choices out of the equation. Okay, and the last piece. And then we can finish building our card. All right. Now I'm going to want a few foam squares. I'll use those to pop up the base layer. So we'll take this, a few foam squares, and we'll give this just a little bit of lift. Okay, just peeling off those squares on the back. Then we would be ready to stick this down. All right. Let's take that. We'll put that right about here. That looks even. Good. And for the sentiment, we'll use some of the low profile foams. I'll just do 3 of those going across, and it's going to overhang a bit. That's okay. So let's take this, flip it around, and that's going to go right here. Here is the completed card. Today we've played a round of this or that. Whenever your creativity feels like it's getting stuck in a rut, sometimes turning your creative play into a game can spark some creativity. Today we rolled a die and let it decide our art supplies from a list of this or that supplies. We used a combination of ideology background, mixed media paper, embossing, washi tape, stamping, and stencils, along with some Distress Oxide, Distress ink, and some Distress Mica spray stain. Thank you so much for joining me here today at the Crafty Corner, and until next time, happy crafting!